Hello again. Welcome to lecture number 2. Here we're going to discuss why is fleet management important, and you're also going to learn where the need for fleet management actually started. And when we talk about why it is important, I can just think of one of the most important reasons. Why I say it's important is that fleet costs are often the second biggest expense to most companies after employee costs. And I can also say it with conviction that with company profit margins shrinking throughout the century, throughout the globe, and for most companies around the world, fleet management has had to become more scientific. Like any other discipline, fleet management has its own theory, technology, and business practices. If these are applied properly in a corporate environment, the result will always be effective, cost-efficient vehicle management. Let's go back about a century ago and see where this all started. This is the period of time where Ford and General Motors started their car manufacturing operations in 1903 and 1908 respectively. It is around this time as well that companies started giving vehicles to employees to conduct their business, which also made it necessary for companies to record the costs, for example, maintenance, fuel, and other minor related costs at that time. Those costs were not as major as they are today. From that period of time, fleets grew across the countries and borders, and vehicles became an everyday tool in business, which brings us to another subject. A company called Peterson, Howell and Heather, PHH, started the business concept of managing vehicle operations in the United States of America. The vehicle management concepts and services that grew out of this company continue to play an important role in managing vehicles all over the world, including in South Africa, where I'm from. By the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s in the United States of America and Europe, including Asia, not to such an extent though, vehicles were used extensively to conduct company business. It was until the 1970s that in South Africa, different levels of employees were starting to be given company vehicles by their employers, and the reason here was mainly because of the relatively high prices of cars. And it was done as a tax-free pack for senior managers and executives. Not only did this kick off well for most companies that were using vehicles at the time, but there's a factor of status symbol that actually accompanied having use of company vehicles or being given a company vehicle as an employee, because companies were also using these vehicles to project their images. I mean, even today, everywhere you go, all over the world, there's signage and company marketing all over vehicles, printed all over, and this is where companies advertise themselves. It's important. It continues to happen. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. Costs continued to be managed on a day-to-day basis, such as fuel, maintenance, and kilometers traveled, and so on. What actually revolutionized that environment was the introduction of computers. Yes, at that time, fleet management may not have been done to the extent of how it is done today, but computers really changed the game. Fleet managers now and supervisors within those companies could get to do some analysis, play with some information which is at their disposal around kilometers traveled, around planning replacements of vehicles, forecasts, and so on, and of course managing fuel better through, as I said, the data analysis from the information that was at their disposal using the computers. Because fleet management now has developed into a specific management discipline with recognized theory and techniques, it has become necessary that certain aspects become managed profusely, especially in a world of constant inflation. Vehicle costs continually rise and need careful management and attention in specific areas. Those specific areas we're going to be covering later on in the course in detail, bit by bit, but by the end, we'll have gone through everything we need to cover in order to get started in managing a cost-effective fleet operation. In closing, I just would like to add that the biggest thing to take out of this lesson, why fleet management is important, is that let's go back to the definition where we said fleet management is a process by which all activities relating to vehicle life cycle, from selection to procurement right through to disposal, has got to be managed systematically. And there's ways to manage that. So that's exactly what we're going to be going through. And going forward, we will be proving why fleet management is important and why it needs that specific attention from you as the fleet manager. And that's all I have in the second lecture. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.